What's up, everybody, and welcome once again to the Links and Locks podcast. I'm Jason Sobel from GolfBet. He is Ben Everill from the PGA Tour, and we are going to break down our favorite betting plays for this week's Honda Classic. About to get into it, play our 18 holes as we do every single week. But Benny, first, Genesis Invitational in the books, and I don't know, maybe we mentioned Joaquin Niemann a little bit on the pod last week.
Yes, it might have been a little play at old Joaquin or Waco or whatever you want to call him these days, but our little man from the international team that I said was going to have a massive year and contend in something huge. Well, he just went out and won it like we said he might do, and comes off the back of picking Scheffler the week before. So I think we're doing okay last few weeks.
Yeah, and Joaquin might still contend in something even huger at some point this year. Remains to be seen, but really impressive stuff from the 23-year-old this past weekend. All right, let's get right to it, and let's pick some more winners for this week. Hole number one, you are on the tee, Ben Everill. Where are you going with your first bet of the Honda Classic week?
Oh, off the back of that intro, I'm going with do not pick Joaquin Niemann this week. I'm saying that I don't think that the youngster will back up quite as strong. I mean, to be perfectly frank, he played perfect golf for those first 2-3 rounds there at Genesis Invitational. I'm just not sure he can keep that up when there's so much danger about at the Honda Classic. So in matchups, I'm sort of fading him a little bit. And also because I did spend some time with him after the win there here in LA. And let's just say he intends to have a good celebration, if you will, off the back of the victory. So I'm just feeling that I don't think he'll have a very bad week or anything like that. I just think given that he's up against some other bigger names in the field in most matchups, I might steer clear.
I'm actually surprised he's still in the field. Full disclosure, we're recording on Monday evening right now, Monday night, and he's, as of right now, still in the field. It would not surprise me if by Thursday morning, Joaquin Niemann says, you know what, I already got a trophy. I'll let somebody else get after one. Okay, my first play, hole number two. Billy Horschel has played this event 9 times. He's got a decent record, 2 top 10s. One of those was a top 5 finish about 5 years ago. He's plus 400 for a top 5 this week. I feel like the move from west to east should help Billy as much as anybody. He's a Florida guy. He loves playing back in the Sunshine State. This should suit his game. Really good ball striker. I'm surprised the record is a little bit better at PGA National, but still, against this field, which, let's be frank, this isn't the greatest field that we have seen this year so far. It's not the greatest field that we'll see this month. So Billy Horschel to finish in the top 5 at 4-1. I'm on that one, Benny.
Yeah, I don't mind that. You know, he's local, Florida Gator. Only missed 2 cuts or something in the last 12 months, the last few years. Yeah. He's due to do something big. So not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm going to go for hole 3. I just decided to bring up something this week. It's like look at the faves, if you will. So of the guys that are sort of the top 5 on the board, we generally don't pick those, you and I, when we're looking for a winner. We try to sort of get some value. But I'm going to say if you are the type of person that wants to be in those sort of first few picks on the board, I like the look of Daniel Berger out of those guys at 1,600. We talked to him obviously on a Twitter space a few weeks ago. He's a local there. He likes the place. He's always done pretty well. We're still a little worried about that sort of strain in the hip in the back area or whatever. But if you feel like you need to go for one of the bigger names, he's my man. Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I am probably myself on Sungjae Im, who I'm going to mention at some point here. The guy who's the favorite this week. If I've got to go near the top of the board, let me just go all the way to the top with my favorite play. But I don't love, like you said, I don't love the full top of the board this week. So let me get to a few players. I'm going to give you a little 3-pack here, a treble of top 10 plays. I'm going to go Brian Harman, Alex Noren, Russell Knox, just good, solid, steady players. Look, this is not a week where you've got to make 25 birdies, where you've got to go super low. We know what the conditions are going to be. It's always windy at PGA National. Something very likely in the high single digits, maybe low double digits under par is going to win this event. These are the kind of guys that play hard golf courses really well. I've got Harman and Noren at plus 330 for those top 10s and Knox at plus 550. I think they're all pretty good plays at those numbers.
Well, Knox, I think Knox has been knocking on the door. So that's a good one, man. I like that. And then I've got no issue with any of those picks. So, yeah, I'm going to keep rolling with you there.
Hole number 5.
Hole 5, I'll give my top 5. While I said that Waco won't continue, I think that his victory will inspire Mito Pereira, the other Chilean on the PGA Tour. And I saw 700, I think it was, around that for a top 5. I was looking at him potentially for a little sprinkle at the outright, but I figured getting 700 on a top 5 might be the sort of safer play in that regard. I do think that Mito, even though he's probably at the party that we talked about with Waco, since they usually live together, will be inspired. And this is a spot that he might be able to keep that roll going.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that it's a very interesting dynamic. Spoke with Mito about it on my PGA Tour radio show, Hitting the Green, late last year, where he said, Joaquin's sort of been mentoring me a little, which is strange because I'm 26 and he's 23, but he's been out here for a while. So he's showing me the rope. So it is a different dynamic, but a good relationship between the two of those guys. If anyone needed some inspiration and will get some inspiration from Niemann's win this past week, I think it's Mito. So that's a nice play there. I'm going to mention some Mito in just a little bit as well. Hole number 6. Look, we know Sam Ryder from the beer shower at the WM Phoenix Open a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure he's dried off yet from what happened at 16, but what kind of got buried under the headlines and the viral videos is the fact that he finished the next day in 23rd place and then came back out the next week at Riviera this past weekend and finished in 26th place, playing some good golf. And again, much like Billy Horschel, going back to Florida, his home state. He finished in 8th place at this event, the Honda, last year. I'm picking him for a fairly conservative top 20 this week, but I like the numbers across the board. Sam Ryder looks like there's some value there at plus 400 for a top 20, 4-1. That's a really good play. Look, it's the same value, same number on Ryder for a top 20 as it is for Horschel finishing in the top 5. So I think there's a lot of reasons to back Ryder this week. And again, might still have the stench of beer on him from a few weeks ago, but that's all right. I think he can play through that.
Yeah, he'll make it through. Mate, you're on fire early given this field. We've come from the massive names to going down the list, and you are picking them out like nobody's business. But I'm surprised you haven't mentioned the one I'm going to mention for hole 7 yet, and maybe you'll get to him at some point. I'm going to throw him in the first round leader category this week, but let me just preface it saying anywhere you want. Anywhere you think this guy might fit, go for it. And that is Keith Mitchell, your man, Keith Mitchell.
Yeah.
4,500 first round leader in. And I just think, look, he has played really well across the West Coast swing when typically he doesn't. And now he's going to a place he won in 2019. And like, he's clearly in form. He's got great vibes there at PGA National. I feel like if he's not going to win soon, he's going to at least be real close. So, as I said, I put him in first round leader brackets. I think he'll come out hot. Don't know where he's going to start yet. We usually like the mornings before the wind gets up. So if he's in the afternoon, that might change things. But sprinkle 10, 5, 20, whatever you think outright, I think he's a good shot this week.
It's funny because like you mentioned, I'm very bullish long-term on Keith Mitchell. I'm not as bullish short-term. Even when he won the Honda back in 2019, I never thought this was a great golf course for him. I feel like there's not a massive advantage off the tee, and that's really where Mitchell's going to find his edge. So I like him this week. I'm scared of not being on Mitchell because, quite frankly, I think he's going to do some really good things this year, and I want to be on it if and when he does. So I don't mind the Mitchell play. Certainly first round leader is a nice one. In fact, I'm going to follow up your first round leader play with the 8th hole, my first round leader. Right bet, right school, different player, though. I'm going with a fellow UGA Bulldog, Greyson Sigg. In his last 9 opening rounds, has shot in the 60s 8 times. The only one where he shot over 70 was at Torrey Pines, where he just happened to play the South course first. If they had given him the North course for the opening round, he would have been sub 70 at that one as well. His scoring average in round 1 is nearly 2 strokes better than it is in round 2, 3, and 4. So it's 65-1. I think Greyson Sigg has a nice opportunity to go out there, post a number. Again, we haven't seen tee times yet. No idea if he's playing early or late, but I think he's a nice play in the opening round based on the numbers that we've seen so far. All right, Benny, hole number 9, finish off this front 9 for us.
All right, I'm going to go with Milesy. I've got to come up. I haven't had one yet, but I'm going to go
Wait. The Aussie Whisperer is speaking. Listen to the music. Can you hear it there? Can you hear the music?
Oh, he gave me
Oh,
a
there it
Vegemite
is.
sandwich. I love it. Look, defending champion Matt Jones. I still think he can produce maybe not quite the magic he did last year, where he was lights out. Like I've forgotten the. I've already, even though I wrote it down 3 times today, I've forgotten the numbers he got strokes gained approach last year, but it was off the charts. The bloke played out of his skin and killed everyone, all and sundry, to win the event. Will he play like that again? Probably not. But he was showing some great signs last week this week just past here at the Genesis Invitational. I talked to him at length about what was coming up, and he was, quietly confident that he could once again be in the mix. He said, "Look, I'm just slowly starting to get to where I want to be at my peak." He's got his coach coming back as well, either going to be there in the next few days or maybe after, but he feels like he's right there, ready to rumble. So Matt Jones for me is a top 20 play this week. Top 20 plus 190. I think that's great value.
Yeah,
Super
certainly
value.
don't mind that at all. A lot of times we don't want to chase the guy who's the defending champion, but no reason to not go after Matt Jones after he played so well here. But let's get to hole number 10. And I'm going to go with one of my favorite players. And look, Benny, you had your music. I might hear some music in the background here. I'm going with the good doctor, Doc Redman, for a top 40 at plus 190. He's a guy that I've loved targeting over the last couple of years. Look, there's been some ups, some downs, some good, some bad. I still think there's a ton of potential there. He's just kind of finding his way right now on the PGA Tour. I'm not going all in. It's very conservative, but being back on the East Coast, I'm looking for big things out of Doc over the next few months. And like I said, top 40 plus 190 is a good number, especially when he doesn't have to finish that high on the leaderboard, make the cut, and then have a decent weekend, and he should be right there.
Well, mate, I'll just jump in. I had this for a bit later in my list, but I'll take hole 11 for my top 40 pick. I'm going back to the well on one of my guys too. Adam Svensson. That 190 number was out there. He's still got Tim Tucker love, and look, he's just in decent form. Look, I'm not really that bullish on going any better than top 40 in these picks, but when I see the value there, like I do, that 190 is a good number for a guy that just needs to make the cut and probably will get there. Svensson with the form and the experience that he's got going, I'm pretty happy with that.
I believe there was a Q School back in 2015. Here it is, a 7-shot victory at PGA National for medalist honors at Q School, which was held that year at PGA National. So there's a little history there for Adam Svensson, the Canadian. All right, hole number 12. You mentioned Sungjae Im, the tournament favorite earlier. I don't want to dip down to right around 10-1 and take him outright, even though he's won here before and he certainly can do it again. I don't know that I necessarily want to take him for a top 5 or top 10. I don't see the value there, but in a 3-ball on DraftKings this week against who DraftKings has listed as the second and third players on the board, it varies widely, at least in the initial odds board that we've looked at so far on Monday. But Sungjae Im at plus 160 over Tommy Fleetwood and Louis Oosthuizen. And as I mentioned, Im's got a great record here. He's even got a little sort of symmetry. The last time he took a few weeks off was last year. He came back, finished in the 30s, I believe 33rd, and then won the very next week. Took 2 weeks off before the Genesis, finished in 31st place. Maybe now he wins again. I'm not willing to bet the outright, but Tommy Fleetwood's number is just way too short this week. I get it. He's finished 3rd and 4th in 2 starts at PGA National, but he was probably playing better golf overall at that point. And then Louis Oosthuizen, look, a tremendous player. It's just, I don't know, the win equity is there. I don't mind going against him in matchups, plus 160. So I am taking Sungjae in that 3-ball. Hole 13 for you, Ben.
Well, I'm with Sungjae. So for me, it is the top 10. The top 10, Sungjae Im.
Yeah.
I think it's a 140. Look, it's not super valuable. Let me just say, without dropping names, anyone who follows me can figure that out. But I was with a prominent tour star for the day today and talking about like what might my picks be. And he was like, "Oh, I'll tell you a lock. Sungjae Im's got to be in the top 10." So they're very close. They know what's happening in each other's world, and I think that Sungjae top 10 is a good play. Like I just don't see him falling off the map here. And I think that he's such a precision ball striker. He knows the course. He's obviously been successful there. He's due a really good week. It just makes sense. And plus, look, the narrative is happening like it did a few years back at this time of year when the international players were winning. If you look back in 2020 before the pandemic hit, we had like Cameron Smith win in Hawaii, and we had Adam Scott win in at LA. We had Sungjae win, and it was all going well for the international team. And now we're having a similar start where we've had Hideki, we've had Cameron, we've had Yako. I think that'll continue at some point. And I think if someone's going to do it, it probably is him. But I'm like you, where just 10 to 1, I just can't jump on 10 to 1. But I will take smaller 140 at a top 10 and just, make a quick, easy buck if I have to.
So, folks, that is at Everill PGA Tour. If you'd like to know the player Ben was hanging out with today and what player like Sungjae Im this week, shouldn't be that big of a surprise. We can all figure this out. All right. Hole 14, another player that you have mentioned already that I am going to go with in, I guess we'll call it a 5-ball. They call them group bets on DraftKings. Mito Pereira. I told you I was going to target him at some point. I do like him this week. I think he's going to be a very popular play, but I'm a little wary of taking him outright. I don't mind it, a little sprinkle there, but in this group play against, you mentioned fading his buddy Wako, certainly take that there. Brooks Koepka, I believe Koepka might be, let's call it motivationally challenged this week. Maybe not bringing his best stuff. Matthew Wolff, very bullish on long-term, but I think this is as bad a course for Matt Wolff as you might find. It just doesn't seem like one that he would play. Very interesting that he didn't play Riviera last week, but he is playing at PGA National this week. Don't like him this week. Shane Lowry, that's the one that makes you go, well, but I still will take Mito at plus 350, which I think is a good number in that group over the other 4.
Yeah, look, I'm with you on long-term on Wolff. I think that he will get back to his good stuff, but I just am afraid of all that water for him with the odd wayward shot. I can't see that being great for him. And I hope he proves me wrong at some point soon. But yeah, I think you're onto something there. Definitely. You heard me earlier. I like Mito. So
yeah, and I don't mind fading Wolff in some matchup plays out there. If you can find a decent player that you like, maybe a second tier type against Matthew Wolff, especially at plus money, I'd probably fire those matchups this week.
All right, time for what, 15th?
Yep, 15th hole.
Okay, 15th hole. I like to, guys, I like to throw a long shot outright out there. And normally I'm looking at triple figures, but I couldn't quite get that deep this week and feel super confident. So I'm at 70 to 1. And it's a little guy again with the international theme, CT Pan, out of nowhere at Riviera, sort of popped up. And I was like, oh, look, he's still here. He was 9th, I think, or somewhere around that, top 10 this week. And he's been pretty good at PGA National. In fact, last year, I think he was 3rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I think it's 70 to 1. It's worth it. Worth having
coming off
dip.
a big week at Riviera last week as well. Now, for the 16th hole, I don't understand how you could only find an international team player that you liked at 70 to 1 for an outright, whereas I'm going with a player at double that number who's also an international teamer. Dylan Frittelli has a lot of upside. Yes. And so if you look at what he's done over his last dozen starts, 6 of those, he's been in the top 30. The other 6, he's missed the cut. He is the prototypical all or nothing, high ceiling, low floor type of player. You know what? At 140 to 1, I don't mind that. Give me the all or nothing. I don't want 140 to 1 and go, okay, well, he made the weekend and he finished in 53rd place. Either give me a title contention or wipe out the bet by Friday afternoon. But I like the fact that he's won before on the PGA Tour. He's contended at major championships before. I think he's a better player than he's shown recently. Why not? He's a guy that plays well on good, hard golf courses, as he showed at both Augusta National at the Open Championship last year. So I'm going to take a shot there.
I love it. I was actually looking for the South Africans. I saw, I think, Schwartzel was at long odds too. I just couldn't quite commit. I missed Frittelli, and I'm with you on it. He is definitely one that could surprise.
All right.
Good one.
Your last hole, would you like to press?
Yeah, look, this is an interesting one because I don't really have a great reason other than I've had a feeling because I've hung out with him this week, right? But my outright winner, 5,500, Cam Young, the guy who was runner up. And look, I said don't go with Waco because he was so far up and took a lot out of him. And I'm sort of going against that by saying look at Cam. But I happened to spend time with Cam on Wednesday before the tournament. Sat down with him for a story that was going to introduce him to the world this week. However, he went out and decided to do it at Riviera instead. Now, just having had some time with him, I just think he's primed. I think he's not going to be worried about not getting it done at Riv. And I think he's actually going to be motivated, heavily motivated to keep this roll going. He is a streaky player in bunches, right? When he won on the Corn Ferry Tour, it was back-to-back weeks.
I was just going to say that.
When he got to the Corn Ferry Tour, it was out of a Monday qualifier, and then he had to finish in the top 25 4 weeks in a row, which he did. He was like 11th, 14th, 6th, 2nd. That's what kept him on the Corn Ferry Tour to then get those wins after about 9 missed cuts in a row. So he goes hot and cold. He's in a hot streak. That's kind of all I've got. I think Cam Young, just a feeling from hanging out with him all week. I think that he's got something big coming while he's hot.
I don't hate that at all. By the way, 53rd in the world, Cameron Young. Have yourself a 2-month stretch, young man. He is playing some really good golf. Was also tied for second at the Sanderson Farms back in the fall earlier this season. Okay, final hole. And I am going with another South African for my favorite outright play this week. Talked about ball striking being important. Talked about scrambling being important because you're not going to hit all of those greens. I've got a guy that's got a nice combination of the two. I've been waiting for him to pop on the PGA Tour. He's got 3 wins on the DP World Tour, the Euro Tour already, and he plays his best golf on tough courses. Christiaan Bezuidenhout.
Yes.
I say it differently every time. I'm not sure which one's wrong and which one's right, but I think this guy is primed for a big week. He's played well at some major championships already. Like I said, 2 of his 3 wins on the Euro circuit were at events where you couldn't go low, where there weren't a whole lot of birdies. So I think there's some rationale behind looking for him at an event where it's not going to be, like I said earlier, 25, 28, 30 under par as a winning score.
Mate, I love that. As I said, there's something about the Saffers. They're ready to pounce. They're ready to do something good. And he has been that one that in every event I've been at this year or been tracking, his name has popped up on the live odds boards. He makes a run and he's sort of fallen back. He makes a run. So he's clearly got something going. And if, you've almost convinced me in that 2 minutes you've just had on him that I have to be with you.
I love it. I love it. Hopefully some of the people out there are with us as well. Thanks so much to everybody out there for listening. Remember, you can find our podcast anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Download, subscribe, rate, and of course, listen to the Links and Locks podcast. For Ben Everill, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all of your bets for this week's Honda Classic. Here's hoping you hit the green.